something that's not talked about enough, but can definitely be a little challenging when you're going out there and first starting your podcast is how do you open up your podcast and how do you start to do your podcast interviews? And it sounds pretty simple, but if you're bringing a guest on the show, you might not know what do I say right in the beginning? How do I have an intro for my podcast? Or maybe you do have an intro, but you still want to talk through it. So here's what I do for our show. First off, I'll say twofold. Hey everyone, welcome back to the REI Marketing Secrets Podcast. I'm your host, Trevor. So I like to introduce my name. I like to introduce our show, and then I'm going to hop into an episode preview where I'll say, and then again, just straight from the start, hey everyone, I'm Trevor Oldham. I'm the host of the REI Marketing Secrets Podcast today. Today on the show, we're going to be interviewing, let's say, multifamily investor, X, Y, and Z. On today's episode, you're going to learn about how interest rates are affecting the multifamily space, what markets you should and shouldn't be investing in multifamily, what type of returns you could be investing in multifamily, and how to protect yourself from investing in a multifamily sponsor that might go belly up and you might lose all of your capital. So I like to give a specific episode preview, and when I'm recording this preview, as soon as I'm done interviewing the podcast guest on my show, I have all the notes written down from the show, and I'm just going to go, it's fresh in my mind. I'm going to end the interview with the guest. I'm going to hop back on and I'm going to record this episode preview. It's just going to make it so much easier than me trying to come back like a week or two later and do this episode preview. So I've gone through my name, I have the show, I have the episode preview, and then I'll do like an intro. It'll be like some nice music, maybe go a little bit further into the show. But even before I do that, I guess to back it up a little bit, so I'll go through my name, the show, the episode preview, and then I'll say, without further ado, let's hop into the show. And then now that's going to hop into the show, and then I have a nice little intro that's going to be played for me right there. And then once the intro is played, now, bam, we're into the show. It's going to be me and the guests themselves. And at that point, I say, hey everyone, welcome back to the REI Marketing Secrets Podcast. Today on the show, we have X, Y, and Z. Thanks so much for coming on to the show today. Say something like that. I'll be, hey everyone, welcome back to the REI Marketing Secrets Podcast. Today on the show, we have X, Y, and Z. For X, Y, and Z, if our audience is learning about yourself for the very first time, do you mind giving us a little bit about your background and what you do? And just, bam, just go into it like that. It can be challenging in the beginning, but I find that the more you do it, the easier it's going to become. And that's just what I recommend, is continuing to practice these intros so that way it's not too awkward, it doesn't feel too forced. Again, it's going to take some time for you to do it, but the more that you practice these openers, the easier it's going to become. My preference is I used to bring on the guest and I would read their entire bio right then and there, but I felt like sometimes I'd be reading their bio for like a minute, 30 seconds, and the guest is just sitting there, and it felt kind of awkward to me. So now what I do is I will go through and mention some parts of their bio in the episode preview, so that way we can just dive right into the episode as soon as I hit that record button with the guest, and there's none of that awkward downtime from the podcast interview. But I hope that was helpful for you. I know that was very beneficial for me on how to open your podcast and how to kick off the show.